this is something that we should be able to sit down cordially and just work out the kinks and not go publicly, not try to threaten lawsuits. That's bull. I'm sorry. You're not helping matters here.
And welcome back to Square Off. Maricopa County Supervisor Steve Gallardo says he's had enough of negotiations with the new County Recorder Justin Heap. Heap, a Republican aligned with election deniers, wants his office to play a larger role in running county elections, maybe even taking them over from the county board. There could be a lawsuit. Now, ordinarily, a bureaucratic spat wouldn't get much attention, but this is about our elections, and disagreements over elections can have very real consequences, as we've seen in the recent past. So this past week, Republican County Board Chair Thomas Galvin held a public meeting for the board to put all its cards on the table, talk about its dealings with Heap and where this dispute stands. Thomas Galvin joins us now. Welcome back to Square Off, sir.
Good morning.
I want to remind viewers about something we broadcast last week, an audio recording revealing that Justin Heap, at a meeting of Republican activists, discussed a plan to oust you as board chairman so that he could get what he wanted from the board. Given that, how can you sit down and negotiate with Justin Heap, assuming he's negotiating in good faith?
Yeah, well, Bram, thank you for having me. First of all, politics is an interesting business. The personal attacks come at you in many different ways, and I'm no stranger to that, and I've experienced that. But you can't take things personal, and I also come from the business world, and for me, negotiating good deals is what's most important. And negotiating the best deal possible for Maricopa County voters is optimal for us. This is what we want. And so what we're going to do is keep doing the work and negotiate with the Recorder Heap in good faith.
I don't want to get into the weeds on the agreement you're trying to negotiate, but from your perspective, what is the best deal possible for Maricopa County voters?
The best deal possible is an operational agreement that just promotes efficiency throughout elections, meaning low cost, but also maximizing access for our voters. The state legislature, in its infinite wisdom, split up election operations between the 5 Board of Supervisors and the Recorder. That happens in all 15 counties. But it's up to us to work together to make sure that we're going to put the best elections possible. And I'm not looking at just 2026, but the presidential election in 2028. So we got to get it done right, and we got to do it the right way so we can run these 2 general elections over the next 4 years. But also, we have a lot of elections in between. We have one right now, a jurisdictional election in Goodyear and Buckeye.
And the county and the county board and county recorder have worked together under an agreement for the last 6 years or so.
Right.
And
yeah.
What exactly does Justin Heap want? He's talked about a lawsuit. He's talked about more control. It's kind of granular stuff, but for the viewer out there, what do you think he wants?
Yeah, well, we had a remarkable meeting yesterday where we met for about 3 hours and we talked about all of the different deal points. One of the things we did highlight is that the recorder's requests and demands have been changing, but we have been working and winnowing down the different points. Ultimately, it's about us performing our statutory responsibilities, the recorder performing his statutory responsibilities. Primarily, the recorder is in charge of voter registration, sending out the early mail ballots. The Maricopa County Board of Supervisors primarily were in charge of tabulation and ballot processing after signature verification has occurred, but there's a lot of gray areas, so we just have to apportion out different jobs, making sure that we're efficient.
He's talked about wanting control of the elections the way it was pre-2019. Is there any way that would happen?
No, I don't think we're going to do anything to upset what we have to do in terms of following the law. The Board of Supervisors is the final call on elections. We have to certify the elections. We also have to lay out the budget for elections. We have a major role to play in this, and we're going to keep doing that.
I want to get to Justin Heap's statement after the county board meeting. If we can put that up. Quote, the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors presentation was one side of an ongoing negotiation. Recorder Heap disagrees with some statements that were made. His focus remains on getting an elections agreement in place that best serves voters. How long can this dispute go on before it begins to affect planning and the actual running of the 2026 election?
Yeah, so I actually take that statement from the recorder as a positive. I think it reflects what we all feel, that we're about 95 to 98% there. There are a few little deal points that are outstanding. I don't think that they're a major. The major points we have finalized and agreed in principle with him, and he has said as such. So I'm optimistic we're going to wrap this up soon.
Wrap it up soon.
Yeah.
Okay. My takeaway from that meeting was, I don't know about optimism.
I'm optimistic.
It's just kind of, that's your job. The board does more than run elections. You've got a budget coming up. How does the uncertainty in Washington, the Trump administration, tariffs, potential spending cuts, and a new budget that might not come down till Memorial Day or after that, how is all that affecting the county's preparations with its budget?
Yeah, well, we're going to be revealing a budget in May and then voting on a final budget in June. But I'm very proud of the fact that Maricopa County is what I consider to be the most financially responsible and most conservative large jurisdiction in America. We are known for being good stewards of our taxpayer dollars. This current board feels the same way. Over the last 4 years, we have cut for property tax rates every single year, but we're still maintaining services. But what we're good at is maintaining a good conservative budget. When I say conservative, I mean with a small c. We're very careful in planning, and any of these hits or things that come out of left field, either from D.C. or otherwise in the economy, we're ready for that, we're braced for that. And so whatever happens in the next few weeks or so, we'll be able to adjust.
Do you think you might have to even come back and adjust the budget based on what happens in
Possibly,
D.C. in May or June?
Yeah, and we do that every year. We do make some mid-year adjustments depending on which offices need help or which offices need adjustments. But the goal is for the budget that we're going to be looking at in May and June is to plan for the next year, for the next few years, and we're in good shape.
I'm getting questions about the Arizona Diamondbacks bill that would funnel $500 million in tax revenue to renovate Chase Field, the D-backs' home. There's been silence. Absolute silence for several weeks while the legislature does other stuff. When we last heard from the county had shifted from neutral to opposed to this bill. Is that where the county is right now, and has anything changed in the last several weeks?
Well, it's a major priority for us to see the D-backs stay in downtown Phoenix and stay at Chase Field. One distinction I want your viewers to know about is that the county doesn't own Chase Field. It's owned by a special taxing district called the Stadium District, which is unable to charge rent to the D-backs. However, when the D-backs first presented this legislation, they said this would be tax recapture of activity generated at the stadium. So if you buy a ticket, a hot dog, or T-shirt, the sales tax would be generated from that to pay for repairs at the stadium. Now the legislation includes scooping out money from our general fund. And for us, that's a no-go because that means money for our sheriff deputies, for our prosecutors. That's why the county moved in opposition. I think there's a larger argument here, Bram, that we need to talk about is how we're going to plan for funding of stadiums. And I think there's another issue here that the county would like to provide input because we have not seen a stakeholder meeting yet where all sides are at the table. I think that's absolutely ridiculous. We are pushing with the 9th floor and with the D-backs to happen. I think it should happen, and hopefully that will happen soon.
All right. And I got to talk hockey, Stanley Cup playoffs. When you took office, you said you're forming a committee of visionary leaders dedicated to bringing NHL hockey back to the Valley. It was actually the headline on when you took over as board chair. You said the names of committee members would be released, quote, shortly. We're long past shortly. Is there a committee formed to do this, to help bring hockey back?
We're still working on it, but what I've been doing is working with NHL, working with hockey experts, business leaders, local folks who understand the different political levers of power here. We're going to continue working on that. This is a years-long process in terms of bringing hockey back, but I've made considerable progress over the last 4 months, and I'm just going to tell you, stay tuned.
Is it harder than you thought initially when you first brought it up 4 months ago?
No. Elections is a lot harder than people think. Hockey's been going really well. If only everything was like hockey.
Tom Galvin, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Bram.